Okay, today we're talking about rational exponents, the definitions. So, if you have something like x to the 1 over a, so I am right here, x to the 1 over a, when that's a fraction and a is on the bottom, a is the root, okay? So that would be the 8th root of x. So for example, x to the 1/2 would be the square root of x. Okay, now if it's something like b over a, where you have a number on the top, this is the root, and b is the power. Okay, so it's the 8th root of x to the b power. So something like x to the 2/3, you do the cube root of x, and then you square that. Okay, so we're going to work through a lot of these, don't worry. 47, first of all, though, we're just going to practice writing in different forms. So when it's the square root of 47, that is 47 to the 1/2. 11 to the 1/7, that's the 7th root of 11. 300 to the 3/2 means you do the square root of 300, and then you cube that. The cube root of these ones. Okay, so here it's going to be 3 to the 1/3 because it's a cube root of 3. A to the 5/3 because it's a to the 5th and then the cube of that, and b to the 2/3. You could write it also as 3a to the 5th b squared all to the 1/3. Either way. Okay, so that's a little intro. So now let's start practicing some actual forms. Okay, so negative 27 to the 2/3. Like I said, when you do these, I want you to do the root first and then the power. So here you start out with the cube root of negative 27 is negative 3, and then we square that. So negative 3 squared is 9. All right, 81 to the negative 1/4. We're first going to do the 4th root of 81, which is 3. And then 3 to the negative first power is negative 1/3. Okay, remember, a negative power puts it in the denominator. All right, with the next one, we've got the cube root of negative 64, which is negative 4. And then negative 4 squared is 16. Okay, I have to go back to the first one because this is not in, this is not in parentheses. We're not going to do the negative, just stays as part of your answer. So sorry about that. It occurred to me this one is in parentheses. This one, we're going to do the cube root of 27 is 3. 3 squared is 9. This means we're looking for the negative, so it is negative 9. All right, with 32 to the 2/5, that would be the 5th root of 32, which is 2, and then 2 squared, which is 4. Okay, 49 to the negative 1/2. So the square root of 49 is 7, and then 7 to the negative 1 is 1/7. Now the next one, you've got power to a power here. So what we're going to do is, remember when it's power to a power, we multiply those powers. Excuse me. So negative 5 times 1 over 15, when you multiply that, you get negative 5 over 15, which is negative 1/3. So we're going to do 8 to the negative 1/3. Cube root of 8 is 2. 2 to the negative 1 is 1/2. Okay. Next, we have a few more where we've got to do a couple things first. So this first one, it is power to a power. So you multiply 1/4 times negative 4 is negative 1, right? Negative 4 over 4, which is negative 1. So 7 to the negative 1 is 1/7. The fourth one is the same, so I'm going to do that one next. Power to a power, so we're going to do 2/3 times negative 2 is negative 4/3, so negative 27 to the negative 4/3 we're going to do the cube root of negative 27, which is negative 3, and negative 3 to the negative 4 is 1 over 3, negative 3 to the 4th, which is 1 over 81. Okay. With this one at the top, when you are adding and subtracting in between, it's not power to a power, so you need to do each one. So here we're going to do the cube root of 8, which is 2, the cube root of 27, which is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, to the third power is 125, right? 5 times 5 times 5. Okay, next, the fourth root of 16 is 2. The cube root of 64 is 4. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. To the third power is negative 8. Okay. If I am moving too fast, feel free to stop, pause, back up, whatever you need to do. Okay. Moving on. Some more examples here. Okay, so sometimes when they're given to you in radicals, what you need to do is write them with a rational exponent, simplify, and then move them back to radicals. Okay, and I'll explain as I go through. So with 12, square root of 12 is 12 to the 1/2 power, and the fifth root of 12 to the third would be 12 to the 3/5 power. So now, when you are multiplying with a like base, you add your exponents. So we've got to do 1/2 plus 3 over 5. You need a common base. So that ends up being 5/10 plus 6/10 is 11/10. So now we have 12 to the 11/10. And then we're going to write that as a radical, so the 10th root of 12 to the 11th power. Now we can simplify that, right? Because 12 to the 11th, 10 goes into 11, so I'm going to split that down to 12 to the 10th times 12, right? So that gives you 10th root of 12 to the 10th is 12, so it's going to be 12 times the 10th root of 12. Okay. The next one. 4th root of 6 would be 6 to the 1/4 times 3 times 6 to the 1/4. Now, I'm just going to move this 3 out in front, and I'm going to focus on 6 to the 1/4 times 6 to the 1/4. When we are multiplying, we add the exponents. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4, which is 1/2, right? So it's going to be 3 times 6 to the 1/2, or 3 root 6. Okay. All right, now with this 9 and the 27. Okay, so what we have is we have 9 to the 5/4 divided by 27 to the 3/4. Now, 9 and 27 are not the same base, but we can get them to the same base, right? 9 we can write as 3 squared to the 5/4, and 27 we can write as 3 cubed to the 3/4. Now you look at power to a power. 2 times 5/4 is 10/4, and 3 times 3/4 is 9/4. Now when we divide, we subtract the exponents. 10/4 minus 9/4 equals 1/4. So that's going to be 3 to the 1/4, or the 4th root of 3. Well, okay, so the last one, cube root of 4 is 4 to the 1/3. 6th root of 2 is 2 to the 1/6. They're not the same base, so we need to get them to the same base, which is fine. We can do that. 4 is 2 squared, So we're going to have 2 squared to the 1/3. Power to a power means you multiply, so that's going to be 2 to the 2/3. On the bottom, 2 to the 1/6 stays the same. So now when we have the like base, we subtract 2/3 minus 1/6. We need a common denominator. So that's going to be, let's see, 4/6 minus 1/6 is 3/6, which is 1/2. So we're going to end up with 2 to the 1/2, or the square root of 2. All right, so that was your lesson for today. That's topic 4, rational exponents. Go ahead and try the topic 4 practice.